So there's one last thing I want to show you as we begin to develop our website. We've put a lot of information on our website. We've done a lot by putting a lot of elements on our website. We have H1 element, nav element. We've done a lot to put a lot of elements on our website. Well, we know obviously that browsers will use the content that we put together and the structure that we put together in HTML to help render the website, or the web page, if you will, on our browser screen. But there's something more that the browser does with these elements. The browser actually sets up a bit of a structure and an interface with the elements that using the elements that we put on our website. And what it does, it allows this interface to allow a website to be really dynamically managed. So let's talk about that a little bit, because there's a bit of a structure or a bit of an interface that's put in place by the browser in addition to just showing the website on a screen. And what this is this essentially is a programming interface that sets up the structure for an HTML document, and it allows it to be changed or manipulated by other programming languages. And this is called the document object model. And you'll hear it referred to sometimes as the DOM tree or just the DOM. And it's very useful when it comes to programming, because as I mentioned, it allows the HTML elements in the website to be actually accessed and manipulated by other programming languages. And you can imagine that's very useful for you if you want to have a very dynamic programming language, a very dynamic website, and you want to dynamically change things in your website. This could be a very useful tool to have. So what happens is just about every major browser has a set of tools that are already set up within the browser called developer tools. And what they allow you to do is they allow you to model changes to your website and really test your website or debug your website. There's a lot that you can do with developer tools. And we're just going to get a taste of it to kind of access the DOM and the structure that's set up for our website, so we get an understanding what's going on. So as I mentioned, just about every major browser has these tools. And if you have, let's say, Safari, you can get to it by going to Preferences, and then Advanced, and then clicking on Show Develop Menu, which we'll see in just a minute. And once you've enabled developer tools, you can go do more and open up the developer tools within your browser. And you also can look at this in Chrome. Chrome is a similar type of thing where you can go to the More Tools menu or just right-click on the website and be able to open up developer tools and be able to see what's going on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check this out and see how this really looks, and actually do an exercise where we're playing around and looking at the aspects of our DOM and the structure that's set up on our website. And we'll see this will be very important to us. Now, one thing I want to mention is, although we'll be able to look at this, we're going to be able to change some of the content dynamically on the fly of our website. But don't worry, we're not actually going to be changing the actual file. The original file won't be changed. We're just modeling through the DOM what changes could look like on our website. And you can imagine that's also very useful for a developer to kind of model changes to see what your website could look like if you did some things. So what we'll do is we'll go first to Chrome. And if you've opened up the website that we've been using, our index.html, we're opening up in Chrome. What you could do is go over here to the right and click on More Tools, down to More Tools, and then click on Developer Tools. And then what you have open is a whole setup here that allows you to see the structure of your website. And you can see just what we've typed right here. You can see HTML, you can see the head section, you can see the body section. And if you look at this, what you'll notice is on the left here, everything that we have is essentially a box. You take a look at it, everything is kind of set up as a box. And if I click here, I can actually change this. This is I'm just putting whatever is on here. If I want to just say this is just my first or something like that, whatever I want to put in here, if I just put it in there, it changes it right here in the browser. It's showing our website differently because we're actually able to access this element through the DOM, through this interface that the browser has set up. And as I mentioned, don't worry, we're not changing our actual file, the original file. We're just changing it through this interface. And so there's a lot you can do. And you can see that there are margins, there are borders, there are a number of things that's involved when you set up an element. And one of the things I want to point out, if we look at this first paragraph element, you'll notice that the element is taking up the whole line. And as we mentioned, there are certain elements like H1 and paragraph elements that are block elements, and that's why they're called block elements, because they take up the whole line, like a block, if you will, of the space that's allotted to them. And as you look further in here, you can add a number of different things. As I mentioned, you can change this, whatever you want to do. You can change. You can add spaces. I can say you can add line breaks instead of breaks if I wanted to, and just type that. And once again, that's changing the content on our website just as it's being rendered by the browser, not the actual, obviously, the actual file. And so when you look down here, as I'm looking at you know, this H2 tag and this paragraph tag, we know it's a block element. As I mentioned to you, some elements are actually inline elements. And if you look at the bold, you can see bold right here, this B element is a little square, but it's in line. It does, the content after it doesn't start over a new line, and the browser tells you that, this interface tells you that it's an inline element because stuff isn't starting over a new line. But you can actually style this other ways if you choose to, and we'll talk more about that when we get to CSS. But look at this, kind of play around with this, because there's a lot you can do and you really get a feel for what we've actually set up on our website, and that everything you're looking at is actually a box. That there are certain elements that take up the entire space, and there are other elements that only take up a small amount of space. They're inline elements, and there's a lot that we're going to be able to do with the styling of our website when we get to CSS. So take a look at all the information we have here, and you'll be able to really get a feel for what we're setting up and how even our comments are here, and how we're kind of setting things up and how things are flowing. So that being said, if you went to Safari, and this is opening up in Safari, in order to see your developer tools, you may have to go to Safari Preferences and hit Advanced, and just make sure that this Show Develop menu bar is clicked. And when you do that, I'm just going to unclick it and click it again. Once you do that, all you have to do is just right-click anywhere on the page, and the Inspect element will show up, similar to what it does in Chrome. So as I mentioned, all of your major browsers have this document object model, this interface set up within it, and it's just for you, just for developers, really to take a look at it. It's just for you to take a look at your website and test the many things with respect to your website, and to get an idea to model how changes might look among other things you can do with it. So with that being said, take a look with this and play around with this on your own and get a feel for changing it, and you'll get a better idea as we do more in later courses and later on in our whole series how to deal with the document object model and more that you can do with that. So what I want to say is thank you. Thank you for taking this course. I mean, if you continue to do this, keep up the good work. If you continue to practice, maybe just reviewing the chapters that we've just completed, rereading some of the summaries, the summary pages that we have for each chapter and the summary of each elements, or you can actually even completely redo the exercises from scratch, teaching yourself how to structure an HTML document, how to add content onto your HTML document. That will be great. Or you can also develop that About Me page that we created, telling your own story using the tags and the elements that we've just learned in this course. But when I say next steps, if you join us for our next course, what else will we learn? What else can you learn now? Well, we're going to learn in our next course, we're going to learn about, you can learn about how the styles of a website can be created. What can we do with CSS? That's what we're going to learn in our next course. We're going to learn about the box model, which we just kind of saw and alluded to in the developer tools, the use of colors. You know, how do we style a box? You know, what's made up in this box? What's really in it? There's a padding part, there's content, you can make a border, there's margin. How to use colors in CSS and other CSS properties and much more. So join us for our next course, and thank you so much for taking this course.